Hello and welcome. We're here in the European Parliament in Strasbourg for a joint debate on the Polish news site Biznes.pl and Europol TV, the television channel of the European Parliament. Our topic today, energy and climate change. By 2020, the EU wants to reach a 20% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions for 20% of energy to be produced by renewables and 20% improvement in EU energy efficiency. So, how will the EU reach its targets known as the 2020 targets? Is this still feasible? To discuss this with us today, let me present our guests to you. First, Catherine Trautmann, hello and welcome. Hello. You are a French MEP, member of the Progressive Alliance of Socialists and Democrats at the European Parliament, also former mayor of Strasbourg, so you're in your hometown here. You've said there is no real European energy policy, just national policies unable to work together. Do you still confirm this quote I read in the newspaper?
I think that we have very ambitious targets, but we need to have a real common will to obtain the results of this for these targets. And the national mix are sometimes in contradiction. That's why I think we are not totally prepared to have a common policy.
Okay, thank you, Madam Trautmann. We'll have the possibility to talk about it during the debate, and I'll now give the floor to my colleague Martina to present the other guests.
Yes, Patrick. To my right, our other guest, Mr. Reinhard Butikofer from the Greens, German MEP. You once said in an article that you were questioning the 2020 EU targets. So do you still think like that?
Well, I'm questioning the targets from two angles, really. On one hand, I'm not convinced that they are ambitious enough. On the other hand, there is reason to question whether we will attain even these goals if we don't improve on our act.
Mm-hmm. We'll get back to that in a few minutes. Our third guest is Mr. Jerzy Buzek, an MEP from Poland, who represents the European People's Party. And you once said that we cannot avoid rising energy prices unless we have a well-developed and full energy market. So could you still admit these words?
Well, yes, internal energy market could be very supportive from many points of view. Let us remember that we have three most important goals which were defined in 2007 and we never changed them. It's security of energy supply, competitiveness of the costs, and environmental protection together with climate protection. So let us remember all the time about three our most important goals.
Mr. Buzek, thank you for this one. We'll come back to it too. I have one questioning also. Poland, for example, seems to be pushing for extracting coal in future to satisfy energy demand. So I would also like to ask to Martina, is this really true? Is this the way some people in Europe have the impression Poland is setting everything on coal, on shale gas, things like that? It's the view sometimes we have. Is this true, Martina?
Well, indeed, many politicians in Poland tend to think that way. However, it's not exactly what all people in Poland think. And before we start our debate, I'd like to present you a short video which we shot in Warsaw just a few days ago. We asked the people in the street about their opinion on the EU targets proposed by the EU, the 2020 targets. So let's take a look.
Myślę, że powinniśmy się w pewnym stopniu dostosować, ponieważ wiadomo, że zależy nam na tym, żeby środowisko uratować, żeby te emisje gazów obniżyć.
Cały świat, który produkuje najwięcej CO2, tego nie przestrzega. Ma to zasadniczo głęboko w poważaniu. Stany Zjednoczone i Chiny.
Jestem w ogóle przeciwny tej Unii i tych ich, że tak powiem, kryterium, jakie one narzucają po prostu na nasz kraj.
Widzicie, co się dzieje, chyba wszyscy widzą, co się dzieje. W zimę mamy wiosnę. Kwestia ocieplenia klimatu jest jak najbardziej chyba teraz aktualna i to wszystko wskazuje na to, że właśnie przez CO2.
To jest po prostu wymysł na potrzeby przemysłu, który dzięki temu więcej sprzedaje, tak?
Z jednej strony jest to bardzo ważna sprawa, dlatego chcemy dbać o środowisko, a z drugiej strony jest to problem ze względu na to, że hamuje rozwój gospodarki, ponieważ kraje uprzemysłowione mają już odpowiednią technologię i gotowe fabryki, które potrafią redukować tą emisję, a my jednak nie.
So, promotion of renewable energies and energy efficiency are the main ideas on the table to reach a reduction of 40% of greenhouse gases in 2030. But is it actually realistic? Mr. Buzek, could you comment on that?
Yes, I'm quite sure it's realistic, but everything depends on the timetable. What is very important that we should not mix our goals and our tools. Our goal is, as a matter of fact, minimizing emission, not minimizing the using of coal, because I would like to prefer the wording low emission economy, not low carbon economy.
But Mr. Buzek, it's also an economical question, and let's say it frankly, you come from a region where coal is produced, very frankly, and this is part also of politics. If you were coming maybe from a city or region where there is absolutely no coal, you would maybe not talk the same way, do you?
Well, I feel to be very responsible for the climate issue. Human beings are causing the climate issue, climate change. So we should prevent that. But everything depends on the costs. If we compute the average European cost, is not the same as to compute them from country to country. For example, in France, we've got energy produced from nuclear. So this transition to low emission economy is much easier than in the case of Poland, and much cheaper than in the case of Poland if you want to change with 90% of electricity production from coal to, let's say, 20 or 30% of such a production.
So let's give the floor now to maybe Trautmann. I saw you a bit questioning when you were listening to Mr. Buzek here. Do you agree on that or not?
I have three remarks on what Mr. Buzek said. First one is that we must look the financial costs and the health costs, because I am from a region in which during years we were strongly polluted by the gas emissions from coal, and especially from the Ruhr region. So we could see acid rains and different effects on the human health. So I think that there must not be a contradiction between the economic goals and the social goals. Second, Mr. Buzek said it's less expensive for France, but I want to answer that to stop Fessenheim, for example, a nuclear plant in my region, is very, very expensive, because there are indemnities to give to the EDF, the big electric producer. So this is the choice of our government, to replace nuclear power by renewables.
You said that the 2020 targets were not that reasonable. Could you please expand on that? What would be the better idea now?
If you go back to the climate conference that Poland hosted in the last year, it has become obvious that we are by no means globally on track towards a maximum 2-degree increase of temperature, average temperature, as scientists have told us we should be in order to prevent extremely dangerous climate change. We're more on track towards plus 4%. And all the analyses that we know signal that this would be not only environmentally extremely negative, but also economically extremely costly. There are internal evaluations of the Commission that say if we reduce the CO2 emissions, that helps job creation. But if we add an ambitious renewables target to that, that doubles the job creation.
Can I just add something? We have the ambition to have a guarantee of energy security for each country. So one of the conditions to succeed is the solidarity between countries. Some of our countries are not in the same situation, and we must take in consideration their situation, because we must not give more problems to their economy in the moment.
With just two short arguments. A, I agree with the general point of solidarity. So Poland, being a country that has inherited a strong dependence on fossil fuels, yes, has to be treated in a adequate way and not just like everybody else. I agree with that.
Thank you very much for all your remarks, because I think I can accept them, because solidarity in this case and different treatment of each member state is very important. If we say about our main goals, is also security of supply. If you use indigenous energy resources, you must have much more security in your country. That's very important for us today.
And Mr. Buzek, if I just may underline one thing, I'm just going on the Polish audience. Martina, could you tell us what you did?
We did a poll in the internet. We asked our users about their opinion of energy. Which kind of energy should Poland develop right now, within the next 10 years, let's say. And we had more than 30,000 answers to that. And that's the result. If you look at it, the first one, the source of energy people prefer is the green energy, which is surprising because many politicians in Poland tend to promote the shale gas right now.
Are you surprised by this poll?
Of course, to change to renewables in a few years is impossible, but step by step. First 15%, 20, 25 is possible, of course, it's necessary because it's also indigenous energy resource. If we could develop our shale gas production with all the environmental protection rules, which is very important, all the environmental protection rules, we could also have something like transition period, much easier transition period from this energy mix to energy mix with less emission. And going back to your question of health, you are absolutely right. We could overcome the problem of acid rains.
Mr. Buzek, I have to stop you there because we will run out of time. If not, Reinhard Butikofer, I saw you clearly reacting when the word shale gas came on the floor. So,
well, look, every country has to take their own decisions about their own energy mix. So I'm not going to tell the Polish what they should do. I only note as a fact, that the support for shale gas in Poland is decreasing, particularly in the countryside where people are having second thought. And I'm noting as a fact that major investors that thought it would be a good business are moving out of Poland because they have done their calculation again. So we should maybe not invest too much on that. On the other side, again, my challenge to the Polish side would be just one core issue. Regarding the preferences of the Polish public, at least the Polish government should refrain from blocking a renewables goal for 2030. And as we speak, the French government and the Danes and many others and the Germans are asking for such a goal, and Poland teams up with Mr. Cameron blocking that. That could be at least a contribution for mutual agreement.
I can also agree with you. I can support your point of view. That is a pity we cannot extract so easily shale gas in Poland, because it would be great for our transition period and also for our security of supply, if we say about gas supply. I would like to say that efficiency is obviously fantastic for each of us. We should fight for efficiency. Agreed. And efficiency with even support scheme, because support scheme for efficiency and for end-use efficiency, energy savings is absolutely obvious for all of us.
So do you agree in the case of renewables, an efficiency goal?
And in the case of renewables, it's quite different, because we can say renewables are very costly. In different member states, we have different support scheme.
And so really costly. This is up to you. Go on.
Wind is not costly anymore. We cannot go. Onshore wind is not costly anymore.
The nuclear power, maybe that's the alternative source of energy. And here we have an interesting situation because Germany resigns from nuclear power right now, but France doesn't. It's, as you mentioned, a very important part of your energy supplies. So why do you think nuclear power is the right source, and why do you think it isn't?
We think that nuclear is not a renewable energy. It's a low carbon energy. So this is the difference. And in a moment in which we want to obtain results on the ambitious target of reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, of course, nuclear plants are useful. But we decide to make this diminution and transition with the increasing resource of renewables. But what we see with Germany is that Germany decided to have a renewable source, but without discussion too much with the neighbors. And then we have the problems with the priority of renewable, which are not constant in the production, which give higher costs for electricity, for example. And there is the problem today of the networks, of the grids. So what we need to maintain is our own strategy, because we discuss with American, with Chinese, with Russian, with Indian. And in this period, we need to obtain an international agreement on that.
But it is true that we are phasing out nuclear in Germany, and this is a national consensus in our country. But look at the numbers. Nuclear now contributes about 22% to the overall electricity supply. We will phase out that by 2021, 22. In France, nuclear has a percentage of roughly 75, and the French government has said they want to reduce that quota to 50. So their ambition is comparable regarding where they start from. So nuclear is not going to be the future. And if you look at the UK, who are investing in nuclear, they have come to the conclusion that in order to find an investor that would do the business, they have to give a subsidy that is twice the amount of renewable subsidies for a long period of time. So from an economic point of view, that would be a waste of money. And for a transition period, we will need some fossil, and we should make sure that they are as efficient also as possible.
As secure as possible for our health. It's absolutely obvious. But what would I to underline? That we need more money for research.
Yes.
If we want to improve renewable technologies, which is very important to make it cheaper, or to propose a real clean coal technologies with highest efficiency, and maybe with CCS, carbon capture and storage, as well in the future. So to spend more money for research in renewables and fossil fuels.
You're talking about research. For this, you need a common ground to do this. Do you have the impression, very quickly, last question, do you have the impression there is a possibility to talk about a common energy policy today in Europe? Yes or no? Is there, we talked about the grids, the question of the grid. Will a European grid be possible one day or not, or should we just forget this? Yes or no? Very quickly, Catherine Trautmann.
We need decisions, we need strategy and financial support. These are the conditions. But without the common will, it's impossible. But this is the chance of Europe to do it.
We don't have a common energy policy yet, but we have taken important steps toward one, and we should take additional steps in the future.
Internal energy market is a big step forward, and in the European Parliament was 97% of support for internal energy market, and we should start from this point and to organize ourselves in this market. Then it will be supportive from three most important goals: security of supply, competitiveness of prices, and environmental protection.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time. So thanks to all our guests.
Well,
thank you for joining.
Thank you also for watching, and see you next time on Biznes.pl and Europol TV. Au revoir.
Do widzenia.